Tell me if that says online.
It's offline.
Hey folks, what are you doing this evening? Well, welcome to Moose Livecast number 6. So, hey, lots of cool things going on. First and most, remember, okay, that you can subscribe, and you should subscribe. That way you get notifications from YouTube when I'm actually going to be doing these things, which about every Thursday night, or every other Thursday night, I should say, for the next foreseeable future. Remember, in between, you can always find me at many different spots. It's called moosepeterson.com, the website. Then you can find Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Kelby1 community, and so on. So, you need things, let me know. I'm here to help. Well, tonight, I want to big shout out, thank you to my good friend, Chuck. Now, Chuck, you guys haven't met, you should have, really smart guy, really good guy. Anyway, what I've got going tonight is, I'm not using my MacBook Pro. What I'm using is the iMac. So this is the whole scenario. Got an iMac, didn't spend big bucks, didn't have time, got kind of a stripped down version. So they had, lag issues. Chuck said, hey, go to OWC, their kit, $500, and I'll have a hot rod. So a terabyte SSD, I got the big RAM, 32 gigabytes, and then it came, the best thing is it came with a line. Not making that up. Excuse me. It chokes me up just thinking about it. You sit there and you watch their video, which is literally step by step, tells you each single screw there is. Take them out, do this, that. Hour later, put it back together, and it's working, and it's really fast. So fast, I could do the live broadcast. In addition, you notice that I'm a little bit bigger in the frame this time. There's not so much. That's because, well, I thought I was doing well. The camera just cut out. Just when I was about to talk about how I got the setup with the D850, it went boink. So let me see what's happening here. There we back. It was working in rehearsals, honest. The producer's right here. Saw it. Anyway, what I got going is the D80 is with a tether.com cable and booster into the iMac. And what it's doing is I am talking to live via the D850. Now I've got it set up with the MBD18, so I've got batteries going. So in theory, it should do all this. Lots of battery power to spare. We'll find out. It's off again? Well, something else to figure out. So, thanks for helping me make this all happen. We're good to go. Go to the chat, see if anybody's here. See if any questions are popping up yet.
From Paris.
Hey, Pierre from Paris. Cool. Love that. Good dog. Hey. Yeah, video is back. David. Oh, you got the tripod. Cool. For those who don't know what a tripod pad is, yeah, it wasn't my best day for marking when I came up with that name. When you have a big lens on a big tripod, you carry it like I do, you have it on your shoulder. And the pad's no more than take that sharp edge off the round leg that hits your cone and puts a pad between that and the tripod. It's a real simple little thing. It adds no bulk or weight, doesn't bother critters. Used to make him quite a bit. David talked to my wife and boom, he's got, glad it's working for you. Cool. Let's see here. What else we got? Do I think the AEFL function is useful? If so, when do you use it? Well, Pierre, most people just call it the on button, but on some bodies it's the AFEL button. It does auto exposure lock and autofocus lock. Depends how you program it. So if you're doing back button focus, heck, I can use it, let alone say it, back button focus, then the two options aren't there. If you reprogram for something else, those two options aren't there. To get to your question, I never use autofocus lock I never have, and I never use autofocus lock. I never use exposure lock or focus lock. So for me and my style of photography, no, they're not useful. But I do know people who do use them. Got to remember, it's really your style of photography. So that's a good question. Got a great answer for you. Let's see here. Hey, Andrew, how's that shoulder, bud? Let's see here. Well, not a whole lot on the board right now. I sound drugged. No wine tonight. Just, Coke Zero. Anyway, so could be I have a sound issue. I did do a sound check. You out there? Could be that. I'll have to play back the video, so I appreciate the heads up. If you see anything else technical, folks, let me know, because like I said, it's a whole new system, playing and recording all this stuff, so let me know. Well, let me just dive into a couple things. First of all, you might notice on the website today, I put out a blog post about doing projects, which I do and have done since day one. I've done them forever. They're always part of what we do here at WRP. Well, we have a really kind of exciting project that's, we've been working on it now since June of last year. Haven't really been talking about it much. And put the whole thing out there tomorrow. Thought I'd give you a little preview. So if this works correctly, I'm going to switch over here. You're going to see a preview, and hopefully the sound will come through.
The very first model that I had for any aircraft was actually the C-47. Basically, we're taking the C-47 into a full restoration. That is, to have it look like it did when it was in France in 1944. And we'll start preparing for a flight to Normandy to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the D-Days. I am Ed Franco. I am the Senior in Aviation as well as the CEO of Vintage Aero Group. I come from Brooklyn, New York, blue-collar working family, years old, went to aviation high school, got my airframe and power plant license when 17 years old, joined the Air Force soon thereafter to work on heavy bombers. What's incredible for me personally is the ability to have to touch it, to actually work on it, to actually fly it over to Normandy. Beautiful airplane. I've always looked at it with admiration. It really is a culmination of learning how to be an aircraft mechanic, circa 1940. For me, the other piece of this is the education aspect of it. The people that can actually touch it and see it and participate in its regen and restoration is a pleasure to actually see. Not a lot of people actually get to touch warbirds, and I think with our mission and what we're excited to do is to actually give people the ability to come out and experience them, see them, and if they so volunteer to actually wrench on them and actually have a piece in the airplane, right? So a little stake in the game. And I love to see that progression in people when they are first intimidated highly by the airplane, all of a sudden to really mastering on it. And then you start to notice that people really, it's like a light bulb turns on. Yeah, I got this. This is really amazing, right? That to me is really what ripped me on about this project. I just have a passion for old warbirds. I think they're the coolest thing out there, but it really allows us history, the way they actually touch history at times. So I think the more genuine, you bring an aircraft of this character, this stature with all of its history, we're really passing the torch on.
You can tell.
Hold the airplane on for a good number of years.
Good question.
And eventually
This time.
take it over. We're just the mere custodians of it.
So that's our project that I'll make this will go live tomorrow. You can watch the video on your system without any lag or buzz. And I just want to give you a little preview coming up. It's been an amazing project so far. There's a lot going on, and we're going to, as it's a documentary, and we're full right now 90-minute documentary that will go on your favorite cable series TV. So we will have an actual thing there. If you want to contribute, you can add money, kitty, help us do it, and in return, we're going to send you a very special coin. So look for that blog post tomorrow coming projects. But it kind of goes into the theme of tonight of lights and action. So let me kind of get to it. Let's see how it's all gonna work here. I'm gonna go into Photoshop. In Photoshop, what's coming up is an aircraft, Super Cub. It's a shot that I did 2 summers back. If you are in the Piper Cub Club, yeah, that's a tongue twister to do it at this time of night. Piper Cub Club, you'll see that this current view is my photographs on the cover, and inside of Ben's really very cool Super Cub, a very, very unique family, very much a family heirloom. So I was doing a shoot air-to-air with him. Now Brian's in the front, and as you can see, he was very intent on flying right there. Yeah, no, he's actually not the one doing the flying. The guy in the back, the guy in the back seat that right there, yeah, that's Warren. They're doing the flying. Brian was doing his usual thing of taking phone pictures. Go figure that. And why were they taking pictures? Because I am hanging outside of a Cessna 182 RC. I'm literally hanging out so I can down to take the picture. So the camera, the D5, the lens, the 70-200 f4, and I use the 70-200 f4 because of it goes down to f32. That's really important. So what's happening is low light, and things about light. So light is coming underneath, and it is in this direction, okay? So the light is on the fuselage. It's not on the top of the wings. That's really important to understand. It's not on the top of the wings. It's on the fuselage. And you can see where it's just on this one side of the fuselage. So the plane is low, about probably 200 AGL. We're above it, probably about 500 GL, and I'm shooting down with the 70-200 f4. And I'm using a very slow shutter speed. That's how I'm getting that proper. Now, so here's the way I start the thought process, at least as far as I am concerned. So I have a story, okay? The story is what? It's this aircraft, okay? That story. Now it's about a family, and I talk about that family, and that's Brian. So he has light on him, but the guy in the back seat that's doing the does not. I want to make sure that the landscape of Dakota comes out in the background, because that's just a tad over the border in Idaho. And I want to make sure that it's kind of got a beautiful warm light, because it's a warm fuzzy story. So all of those considerations for that light go into the briefing before we actually take the picture. So we're actually flying in a direction so this side of the fuselage is getting the light. And that's really important. It is everything. Yeah, David, the great plane to learn to fly in, because Victor is right behind you, tandem, you know, so he has this dual control. It's a really, for lack of better terms, forgiving aircraft. It's really popular. It's a great plane. It's what I went water skiing as in, oh, that's another story. I'll tell you some other time about water skiing in a Cub. Anyway, so here we go. Here's the photograph. Here's the light. I'm shooting down on. The sun is over here on the right side of the frame. So the light is going to skim across, and it's going across that front leading, okay? Gives me a sense of flight, a sense of family, a sense of warmth, you know, and that's the whole. But here's the deal, and this is the thing that's really important. You're seeing now the final photograph. And of course, you look side there, you'll see that there are no other layers. It's just a single photograph, okay? So to get to this point, I had to work with Adobe Camera, and that's what's really critical here, okay? Really critical, because to get this, we have to think about the again. So the light that's you got to think about is one that's around all the time. I'm actually seeing it out the window right now as the storm comes. It's prevalent lots of places, and it's the reflected blue light from the sky, okay? That blue light, or if you have overcast, that reflected gray light, those colors, okay, are very cold. Cold as in an emotional response cold. Now, the thing up here, because it's all blue sky above, this big white wing is going to be reflecting that blue, but you don't see it. And that's really kind of the point of this whole thing. So I'm going to go in Adobe Camera Raw, and I just double clicked on my smart object, took me right in. See, I'm shooting f11. I'm shooting 180. Oh, I take it back. I was shooting with the an 8400 when I did it. Wow, it's older than I thought. It's D4S. So it's 3 years ago. Wow, time goes too fast. So anyway, here's the graph. Okay, now, first and foremost, if we go to the way that the camera took the photograph, that's really important to understand how the camera saw this scene, and before it sat there and applied the raw file to production set, this is what it sees. Hello, wake up. Come on, reset, boink. Okay. Now all of a sudden you can see there's blue here, the warm color's gone. A bunch of things have disappeared, okay? But that blue color on top is really important to talk about. So I'm just going to be really quick and simple and go back in rather than trying to reset it because I'm lazy and I only have 30 minutes. Now, so what have I done to finish this photo? First and foremost, I hit my preset, okay? And that preset, to go over this from last week, I've changed my camera mode pro. I have changed the, I can't see it, my vibrance. And I've done some sharpening in here. Again, holding down the option key and when op key, and I do that mask second sharp at 120. So those are the basics, and then you can see where I've gone through and changed things. So second, just kind of memorize that zigzag pattern. And let me quickly go back to my preset. You can see what happened, how all those lines are straight. Okay, so when I'm in Adobe Camera Raw finishing, I'm going to be making changes based on how I see the light. Now the first and foremost one is that blue that's just prominent on the top of the fuselage. Now one of the issues of doing this live broadcast, everything as sRGB, and I'm not looking away. So I'm going to try to exaggerate a little bit. So if I pause, I'm looking at the computer monitor to see how it's coming across to you. But the key to this is going to be your HL grayscale tab. In here you have two things, saturation and luminance. So this right here is blue. If I remove that blue, watch what happens with that slider. Go back to the way it was. And then I'm going to take it back out again. In this case, I am lightening the color blue with that luminance. And in saturation, I'm going to sit there and desaturate that blue. And when I do that, before and the after. Before and the after. Just look at the wings. There's all that blue up there. Now it's back to white. The same, realize that that blue, okay, is filtering into the rest colors of that foreground, background, and aircraft. And that blue is going to affect everything from the reds to the whites. So now in this particular photograph, the first thing I'm going to do is the saturation and the luminance, because that affects this whole aircraft. Because then I'll come back, that side of the aircraft, yeah, I don't want that it's quite so bright. I want that more romantic, warm light, okay? So I bring the highlights down. And when I bring it down, you see how they got nice and warm in color? So I'll turn it off again. Watch just the side, and I'll pull down the highlights. And do that, what happens to the top of the wings? They get darker, but they're what color? They're white. So I bring up the whites. So now I've got my highlights in control, but I've got the whites back cleaned up via the HSL Grayscale Saturated Luminance panel. And then I did mess with the shadows because I wanted more in the background. a little black makes things look even sharper. I took up the clarity. It's kind of simplistic when you start off with shooting, looking at the light, thinking of light, you want to tell a story. And then when you get into post, doing that lighting at the same time, the same in post. That's how it all works. To me, it's kind of simple. Now, it might not seem that simple to you. And there's the rub kind of thing, because, right, it's a challenge in this. So for some reason, the D wants to cut out after a while to figure that one out. So now, here's one thing I want to talk about, the process. Let me see if I got a question here. The Q mode takes advantage of electronic front curtain shutter. Question: do you think it is useful for limited shake? Okay, Pierre. So, personally, I never worry about it. Not on a tripod, not a handhold. I never worry about that because I practice hand-holding technique every day. In fact, can I have my weight? I mean, this is very silly, but it's literally at my desk. I talk about it. Okay. I do curls with this every day too, just so that my arm, thank you, producer, my arm can sit there and hold the camera tight against my face. When it comes to shooting action, okay, which is what I want to talk about as well, when it comes to shooting, anything you do that's going to slow down the process means you probably got to miss the action. You go to the website, you will see all the settings for like the D850, the D5, all the bodies, and all the settings that are in the camera are to make that camera as fast as possible when it comes to capturing action. So if I'm photographing a landscape and all of a sudden a fox pops up from the behind in this landscape I'm shooting, I want to be able to start shooting that. So I don't use any of those things other than continuous high to get to your answer to your question. I don't use that. I use continuous high. Then I train my finger to shoot one bunch of photographs. And that just means I practice with it every day. Let's see what else I got. I got the great area shot of a cub at the Fire Museum. Okay, cool. Well, photography is a good thing, and it's always a great thing to do. We talked about lights. Let's talk a little more about the camera when it comes to photographic action. So I just mentioned about settings. I'm using continuous high, but remember that in that process, you're looking for something called peak of action. And peak of action is probably, I think, best verbally described. You think about a basketball. Bouncing that basketball. You bounce it, it goes up, it pops for a second, and then it goes back down. It hangs in the air, back down. When it hits the ground, believe it or not, when it's bouncing, it stops for a second, then it's back up. And then it's going to bounce back down. Well, those 2 moments when it stops and changes travel is called peak of action. Lots of things have peak of action. Birds beating their wings, plane and maneuvers. There's always a moment where they stop. If it's a plane, you don't stop too long, right? Anyway, that action, okay, is how you get your sharpest photograph when you think about just that movement. You have to use pan, very important part. So in that two techniques of peak of action and panning, I then want to make sure I combine continuous high in the camera body, and then if it's something moving in a plane, a bird, whatever, I'm going to put it to auto area AF. Now, Canon people, I'm sorry, you don't have that autofocus mode. Nikon people do. And what it does is it takes the whole viewfinder and makes one big giant AF sensor. And that's just like cool. It makes it really simple to use. And one thing that auto area AF has, or AAA, has closest subjectivity. So whatever the camera computer says is the closest thing, that's what's going to focus on. And that works marvelous on the system. Works really great. So those are the important settings. Now, depending on your camera body, okay, if you do the custom settings on autofocus, there is a method to check the thinking of the camera. It can take a picture that says it's in focus. It'll take a picture when the shutter is being depressed, a picture when they're both happening at the same time. So Each camera body is a little different. They tweak that speed computer. So go to my things on the website. You can see what I found works best for the different ways for capturing action. So when you look at my settings, always know that I'm shooting for action, which includes the RAW file. I showed you the Cub, and I showed you how I just did all that in Adobe Camera Raw. Now, talk about this again because it's really real fuzzy. But when you're shooting RAW, okay, and now CR2, Nikon, Canon, when you shoot that RAW file, you actually, when you click, are making a whole lot of files with one click of the camera. Two important files to understand when it comes to RAW is there's the RAW and the instruction set. The instruction set is what's telling the computer how to reassemble the RAW file. And that's really what's important. So when you go in Adobe Camera, have you ever wondered where Lightroom or any of those programs and you're messing with sliders and changing the RAW file, did you ever where those programmers for that software came up with all those sliders? I mean, did you think about that? They learn how to access the instruction set the manufacturers have writing with that RAW file to change that information. Now, personally, I think it's really important to get it right in the camera. And when it comes to shooting action, it's very important, I think, especially to that tone curve with your white balance and your camera picture control for Nikon, and I forget what they call it in Canon. All those things come together when you're shooting action because the camera has to work at its fastest, and the more input it has, the better the information, the faster it can gather and write that file. Yeah, it could be milliseconds, whatever that might be. But when you try to capture that one moment, okay, it makes a difference. So that's just kind of, in a sense, lights, camera, and action. See if anybody has other kind of, I don't see any real comments going on out there tonight. Kind of a group, and that's okay. I appreciate that. But basically what I thought I had more questions. With that, it's been about half an hour. Hopefully you'll come back 2 weeks and we'll have some more information. I see some things going off. See here. Thanks for getting Takeoff. That's a great. The book is doing phenomenally out there. It's in a lot of museum bookstores now. So we really appreciate all the patronage from you guys. That's really grateful. Good. What are my thoughts on the NYC photo helicopter crash? Well, one, it's really sad. Two, those harnesses those people are in, those are basic safety harnesses, and yeah, you're being right in the middle of your back, so you can't reach those. We actually use those. I used to use those in our air-to-air workshops. The thing is, the other end tail has a carabiner as well. That's what's actually clipped into the. But they said they had 4 seconds to react. 4 seconds. If you've never, one, been in a helicopter, been in a harness, and 3, been in that emergency, I don't know how you could get yourself out. It'd be a spooky scenario. I can tell you for myself and the pilots, a couple of the pilots I've flown with who've been the photo ship pilots, we've talked about what happens if Moose falls out. Because I have a harness, I have a tethered in, and the point is that the tether, the pigtail, that harness and the plane, a hard point in the plane, it's set so short, I actually can't fall out. I could probably get my feet and my calves out, but no more. That Schwarzenegger True Lies kind of bopping on the side of the plane, yeah, I'm not into that. But my heart goes out to those people. I mean, that's an exciting thing to come to an end like that. Let's see here. David, your 210 iMac has come way too slow. Can I get on a MacBook Pro over an iMac? Well, the first thing I would say is I would look at the new equipment, because some things like slots are gone and you have all those USB-Cs and all that kind of stuff. I have a MacBook 2015 I really like. I don't know if I'm going to upgrade until some other things, peripherals we so depend on, become just better to use, I think. Like I mentioned though in the beginning of this broadcast, I took my iMac, which is a 2012 iMac, went to OWC, and I got those parts for $500, and now it's a screaming hot rod. It works great. So I would do OWC and look at what it is. I know popping the iMac might seem scary. Hey, it was really simple. I'm telling you, the free case of wine, that makes everything better. Okay. Oh yeah, Dennis asked back, what do I do with all the prints I make? Dennis, you really kind of open up a sore subject there. Because I literally have, well, there goes the camera again. It's out. What's happening here? Interesting. You just, it's like it's overheating. Huh? New to figure out. I like new things. Anyway, back to your question. Dennis, on the prints, I do print a ton, and we actually have a storage facility. Not making this up. Producer's right here, right? So I'm not making this. And in that storage facility are boxes and boxes of prints. They're not the test prints. I'll take it back. There is 2 boxes of prints. Well, why do I have those? Because that printer's gone. Anyway, I store them all, and I don't know why. I have no clue. Now, some on the drying rack that I just printed, but otherwise, yeah, I just can't. I just don't bring myself to getting rid of them if it's kind of weird. Good question, though. Andrew, what kind of harness do I use? It's a make harness, so it's not one off the shelf. A couple of things you need, if you want to get a harness and you're going to do a lot of air to air, and it's really, of course, you're important. I highly recommend you go to a shoot shop, a harness master, and talk to them. And that's your best bet. 2 things about the harness. One, it's got to, fit. I mean, we all got different body shapes, and we got stuff that, don't want to get pinched or hurt. So we got to make sure that's all done correctly. At the same time, if that harness really had to be used, we want to make that, one, the sheer force of that harness to get your body cause more injuries, and 2, that it actually does its job. I would go to one of those harness masters and actually get it done. Those safety harnesses that you can get like on Amazon that people have, a bucket, stuff like that, they're good for a couple shots. But make sure when you do that, you remove the pigtail that comes with them, and you go to a climbing shop, talk to the experts, and get the carabiners and the safety rope that holds your harness into that hard point in the plane. That's really. Let's see here. Carol asks, I just discovered the auto picture control on the DA50. No, it's not in your settings. Do you have any use for it? Auto picture control? I'm totally drawing a blank what the auto picture control in the DA50 is, to be honest with you. If it is not my settings, my first thought is, yeah, I don't use it. I have to get back to you. I have to, since the DA is right there, I'm going to have to sit there and check into that because it's a bell. It brings up a good thing, though. When I get a new camera body, I go out and shoot with it, back and double check all my settings. Then a month later, I go through all the settings again. And then I never change those settings. I don't go in the menus and keep changing, so I don't really familiarize myself with them. So for example, if you right now with a D4S and say, find this setting in the menus, I'm useless. I have to peck around like everybody else. So I kind of forget them. Find an answer and I'll get back to you on that. Let's see what else. Yeah, the free case of wine, David. That's a good perk. Well, I see the question flurry kind of off there. I'm going to sit there and sign off, and thanks for coming, and remind you that shooting is important. Keep out there and shoot as much as you can all the time. And, make sure you go out there and make every click your story. Thanks for coming in. Have a good